Hi, if you have a court date coming up, and the other side has suggested adjourning the date to a future date, you may be wondering, should I or should I not adjourn my upcoming court date? So there is no hard and fast rule to it. Again, it always depends on the circumstances. The first thing from my perspective that I look at in adjourning a court date is I always ask, what am I trying to accomplish? So I recognize that a lot of times parties that are self-represented have suspicions. They think, well, is the lawyer on the other side trying to take advantage of a situation and things like that? Well, I mean, that may or may not be, but for the most part, at every time you go to court, it costs you something. So if we're representing you, if you have a lawyer there representing you on your matter, going to court costs money. But even if you're self-represented, it also costs. I mean, there's the opportunity cost for a lot of people. It means leaving work, missing work for the day, leaving early, or even if you're not working, it's just time taken away from your life to come to court. So you have to ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish? Every court attendance should have a goal. So let's say hypothetically, you're trying to accomplish, getting an order for spousal support or child support if it's possible. Well, if you don't have the other party's disclosure, going to court for that court date may not serve you. You could be a wasted attendance when if you adjourn it to a date in the future, then you have time to get the disclosure that you need, and maybe just maybe there's that chance that you could negotiate a settlement on the issue without having to go to court. Remember, the more issues you can settle, not necessarily everything, but the more issues you can settle on your own, the better and more cost effective it can be. You look more reasonable to the courts, and if you have to consider legal fees and all of that stuff, it's just the most sensible options. But let's say you've been asking the other side for disclosure so that you can finalize this spousal support issue that you would like finalized, and you've been waiting months and now they want to adjourn. Well, you may not want to grant that adjournment because you could actually go to court and get an order so that you know for sure that there is going to be accountability. The person will be held accountable to certain timelines and providing disclosure. So you have to, I guess it boils down to, what are you trying to accomplish, and would you accomplish more by going to court for that date, or would you be better served agreeing to an adjournment and trying to be better prepared for the next court attendance? I know a lot of times people say, well, I want to go so I can tell the judge that they didn't do this, that, and the other. And while that's nice, I mean, sometimes you don't get a lot for that, right? You could, sometimes the judges don't care. If the other party has a reasonable explanation for why there's been a certain delay, or if there's a reasonable explanation for why they cannot make that court date, then then you end up looking unreasonable to the courts, right? So if the other party is claiming they're sick, for example, or because of a death in their family, they haven't had time to take the necessary steps to prepare for the court date that you're attending. Well, if you show up there just because you're suspicious of the other side and you just want to attend this court date, you don't look very reasonable to the courts. And it's important that throughout the process you look reasonable, you negotiate in good faith, because depending on the outcome at the end, all of these things would affect costs. Actually, I should say, regardless of the outcome at the end, the reasonableness of a party's behavior, it's a factor that the courts would consider in awarding costs one way or the other. So I hope that helps you in answering your question on whether you should attend or adjourn an upcoming court date. And in my next video, I will talk about some of the things that you can expect to accomplish at each of the mandated court dates at every step of the family law process.